Hey guys, welcome back to the Mindful Dose YouTube channel. I'm Adriana, and today's video I'm showing you how to get into a tripod headstand. Now, I know that's a lot of jargon. If you want to just watch this video first before trying it, I think that would be the best way to approach this if you have never gone upside down. If you have an inversion practice, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, I will provide other variations for you to practice if you already know how to get upside down. But I still highly encourage you to watch the foundational steps of getting upside down. Now, before we get into the mechanics, I want to make sure that you are all aware that this should be done after you have warmed up your body. That can be a workout of your choosing or maybe a video on my YouTube channel. So in addition to that, make sure that you are not feeling any pain in your neck, that there aren't any concerns that would affect you while you're balancing on your head. With all of that pushed aside, let's get upside down. To get into a tripod headstand, you have to understand what the shape is that you're trying to make on the ground. Tripod headstand, you're balancing on 3 points of contact on the ground. You're making a triangle with these 3 points of contact. That would be the top of your head, the crown, and your two hands. To find the crown of your head, take 3 fingers of one hand, glue them together, and then take your ring finger, take that ring finger and place it on your hairline, or where you think your hairline should be in case you are without hair. Take the pointer finger of the opposite hand and rest it right next to the pointer finger on your head. That is not the crown of your head, but that is the spot that you put on the ground first. Once we move into the steps leading up to a tripod headstand, you will then roll onto the crown of your head. So now that we established what shape we are making upside down, let's practice the setup. To do that, come into a tabletop position. Hands are underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips. Walk your knees towards your wrists, bringing them closer to the wrist, and then that spot that you found on the head, put that down in front of your fingertips. Now before you move anything, make sure you can see all 10 fingers. You can wiggle them just to make sure. If you are here and you can't see your fingers, or you think you can, that shape that you're making is a line. You won't be able to balance like that. So if you can't see your fingers, simple solution is to slide your hands back. Right, so we're making the triangle right here on the mat. Once we've established that, tuck your toes, lift your knees, lift your hips, straighten the legs. Now, that sometimes can be confusing. The moment that we put our heads down on the mat, everything else on our body becomes foreign and we don't know where anything is. Let's practice. Come into tabletop position, knees underneath your hips, hands underneath your shoulders. Tuck your toes under and lift your knees, let them hover off of the ground. Lower the knees. Lift your feet. Lower the feet. Lift your knees. Lower the knees. Lift your knees again. Lower them down. Lift your right foot. Nice. Lower the right foot down. Lift your left foot. Lower down. Lift your feet. Lower them down. Come to sit on your heels. So I'm sure you're wondering, what was the point of that? That was super easy. That is just so that your brain has a little refresher of what your knees and your feet are, so that when your head is upside down, the memory is there, the muscle memory. From tabletop position, walk your knees behind your wrists. Place that spot that we found with our finger on your head, place it down onto the mat. Tuck your toes, lift your knees. Awesome. Now this right here is already an inversion. Your hips are over your head, and you can stay here or you can practice just coming up and down. You want to make sure your neck is long so you're not scrunching. Keep your neck long as you're upside down. The next step is to walk your feet in. Get your hips a little bit over your shoulders. Now, the important part of every inversion, of every part of your practice, is breathing. If you're comfortable here, bring one knee to the back of one arm. Alright, you can point that toe up. Just try to keep that leg super tight and not just a dead leg on your shoulder, on your arm. So you want to bring that heel towards your hip. If you're comfortable here, lean into that right arm. Put that knee, press it down into the right arm so that you come light on the left leg, and then bring the left knee onto the left bicep. And now you're in a tripod egg. You can clap your feet because yes, you did it. You're upside down in your very first inversion. Lower the feet down, walk the feet back, lower the knees down, and you're back to where you started. Alright, again, the important thing of getting upside down is to breathe. So don't hold your breath. Keep your core engaged, so pull the navel in towards the spine. The second variation that you can work on in a tripod headstand is coming into a straddle. And I'll show you two ways to accomplish that. The first one is coming from the tripod egg. So I'm going to skip the over explanation of getting upside down because we already did that. We'll come upside down, tuck the toes, lift the knees, walk the feet in, bring the knees to the back of the arms with control. There's no race here. The next thing you can do is moving with your breath on the exhale, float the knees up. This can be a lot. And now you're floating this tripod egg, and then extend the legs straight out to the sides, and you are in a straddle. The key to this is moving slowly. You can come back down the same way you came up. I will admit that one's a little more challenging. That requires a lot of core engagement and a lot of slow movements. Slow movements can be very hard because you're working with the weight of your body and you're working against gravity. That is the most challenging option for a straddle. The easiest one requires a lot of flexibility in your hamstrings. If you don't know what the hamstrings are, that is the area behind your legs. So if you sit a lot, if you run a lot, and you don't stretch out these muscles that tend to be tight, then this part will probably also be challenging. But like I said, you should be doing this after you warmed up. So there could be some flexibility going on with the back of your hamstrings. Everyone's at a different point of that flexibility. Be mindful of where you are today. Honor it. Don't judge it. You'll get there someday. Now, to do this second part, I'm going to face the camera so that my back is against you when I am upside down. Coming into the same prep, knees behind your wrists, set the head down, right? The part before the crown of the head. Keep those elbows hugged in, all right? Tuck the toes. Oh my gosh, I keep saying tuck the knees. Lift the knees up and take your feet wide like a straddle already. So, as you come onto your tiptoes, you're rolling onto the crown of your head. Come light onto the tiptoes, and to do that, you really have to trust yourself, trust your core, and then come light as you lift up into the straddle. The trick here is to point the toes down so that when you teeter-totter, your legs would come down instead of behind you. And then coming down the same way you came up. All right, so I know that seems intimidating. It's definitely a lot, and I definitely didn't get it the first, second, or third time that I've tried that in my practice. It took a lot of trust in myself because with any inversion, the fear is to fall. And with this straddle, prep, you really have to tighten that core, because that's the part of the body that's controlling the lift off and controlling where you stop and how you come back down. So those were your 2 variations. I hope that you liked those. The last variation that I want to give, this requires that your hips are super mobile and super flexible. So if you just did a leg workout, this might be challenging, but if you did a hip flow in a yoga class, this would probably be great. I also have a hip mobility yoga class here on YouTube, and I'll try to link that here. So this variation is called a puppy press. A puppy press, I'll show you. When we puppy press, we'll come straight into the straddle. This puppy press is more about the entrance. So if the float up into a straddle was too hard for you, or the floating of the egg and then extending the legs out was also hard, maybe this one will be more enjoyable and you'll find more success. Either way, honor your journey, honor where you are. I'm going to set up the same way, lifting my legs. So I have to bring one leg out to the side, and then the other one, I'm going to just lift the right knee out to the side. So it's almost like I want to get into the straddle, but instead of having my leg straight, I'm just going to bend it, because it's easier to get the knee up higher if my leg is bent. So as you do that, lift, 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 and then you come up and then sit into this straddle, in this straddle position. And then you can play around with coming down with puppy legs, right? So puppy legs, a puppy press, your one knee has to be bent, the one that's up in the air, that has to be bent to help you get your hips over your shoulders. And once your hips are over your shoulders, that is the majority of the inversion. Then your legs kind of just float up. As always, the core, which is controlled by your breathing, helps you stop and go. Okay, I'm going to show you on the other side. So head comes down, hands are down, make sure you're making that triangle, hug the elbows in, lift the legs. You can walk the feet in, that can help. Step the right leg out to the right, lift the left knee up, bending that leg. Lift, lift, lift. Float this right leg up, and then you have to, with your mind's eye, imagine what your legs are looking like. And it helps if you just record yourself, because then you'll know, oh, I should be more in a straddle, or oh, my legs should be lower, you know, or extending through the hamstrings a little more. Woo. All right, guys, so play around. I hope you enjoyed this how-to to get into a tripod headstand. Bye, everyone.